Welcome back to another tip from Scott Nagle Tennis. This is Scott Nagle. Today's tennis tip is going to be covering the drop shot volley. Let's take a look at the drop shot volley now. The drop shot volley is a fantastic way to catch your opponent off guard. One of the best opportunities to use this shot is when your opponent is deep on the baseline or behind the baseline or wide off the court, and you can hit it just over the net, pulling the ball very far away from your opponent. The technique for the drop shot volley is very similar to the drop shot technique and a good advanced volley technique. So if you're already familiar with those two shots, that'll help you learn the drop shot volley. Great drop shots and drop shot volleys utilize a lot of backspin. I'll give you a drill now to help you work on your backspin that you can use as a progression from this drill to where you're hitting backspin on your drop shot volley. If you know the continental grip, it's a good idea to use your continental grip for this drill, but you can also use any grip that's most comfortable to get the racket flat. Start out by moving your racket in a right to left path for right-handers. And this is beginning the motion I'm going to need to create backspin on the ball. I'll then add a ball to the equation. I can either let it bounce in between each time I strike it, or I can do it in the air. I'll demonstrate both right now. See, with each hit, I'm applying backspin to the ball, ball spinning backwards. I can do it in the air, create more backspin. Next, we'll look at a drill you can do with the ball coming at you in the air, how to create backspin more like the drop shot volley. I'm going to lay my racket flat, a little bit flatter like a plate, and allow the ball to hit my racket. I'm going to impart some backspin on the ball and let the ball travel behind me, which will be one step closer to hitting a drop shot. As you notice in that drill, I used a very loose arm and a loose wrist, and I opened my racket face up completely to absorb the energy of the oncoming ball. For a regular volley, obviously I'd be a little stronger with my arm more rigid, and my racket face would be a little bit more closed, so the ball would go a little faster over the net. But in this case, I want to absorb the pace of the oncoming ball. I'll show you another drill now that's a little closer to the drop shot volley, where I'll actually catch the ball off the strings and into my hand, and this will simulate the same skill we'll need for the drop shot volley. Imagine yourself catching a water balloon with your racket that you don't want it to break. You'd use the same action here to soften the shot. Now that you've learned how to absorb the energy of the oncoming ball and catch it in your hand, we'll actually try to have the ball land on your own side of the court, skim the side of the net that you're on. You can aim for the top of the net or just over the net to practice different depths to hit your drop shot volley, to work on your fine-tuning, soft touch skills. I'll demonstrate a few of those now. So those shots, you can see I wasn't actually aiming always over the net, but trying to get a real close shot to the net, as soft as I could. Next, you'll see how we can hit the drop shot over the net. Today I've used a couple of water bottles to aim for. I'll have to adjust the amount of power that I'm using, the amount of absorbing I'll have to do with my racket and backspin to put on the ball, as well as the height to get the ball as close to the water bottles as possible. Also, I want to make sure that I have several more bounces before the ball will cross the service line. You also want to make sure that you don't have too much height on the ball on your drop shot volley, so that your opponent does not have time to run the ball down. We want the ball to be landing very close to the net, but if it's too high, your opponent will be able to come in and hit a very aggressive passing shot by you. So make sure that your ball is only a couple feet over the net. Now let's take a look at the technique used in hitting a drop shot volley. The first step is making sure my arm and my racket make a right angle or a V position. Some people call this a big U position, but the racket and the arm make a right angle. It's also going to be fairly loose. The looser my arm and wrist, the more energy I can absorb from that oncoming ball. My racket will be laid back in about a 45-degree angle. This is for shots that are upper mid-torso. For lower balls that I'm hitting, for lower drop shot volleys, my racket face will open a bit for more backspin. And I would also change the angle a little flatter for a high shot that I'm hitting a drop shot volley. And here I wouldn't be quite as open on that technique. Now that I have my racket angle set and my loose arm and loose wrist, I need to learn how much power to apply to the shot or how loose to make my arm. This will depend a little bit on the oncoming ball speed, how far I am from the net, what type of drop shot volley I'm hitting. Perhaps I'm hitting the ball with my opponent very deep in the court. I don't have to hit as good of a drop shot, or if they're closer up, I might have to hit a much better drop shot, needing to absorb a lot more of the energy and make a softer shot. So that will be determined by the situation as it comes. The absorption of the ball will depend a little bit on the speed of the oncoming ball, the distance I am from the net, and just how good of a drop shot I need to hit in this particular situation. Make sure when practicing the drop shot volley that you do so from different depths further back from the net, and also practice different heights and different speeds. You want to play some drop shot volleys that are low, some that are medium, and some that are high. Have your practice partner hit the ball hard at you, have the practice partner hit the ball soft at you, and you'll be comfortable hitting the drop shot volley in different situations from different locations in the court. Also practice angle drop shots as well as drop shots that are straightforward. When you're playing competition, you want to make sure that you only hit the drop shot when your opponent is pretty far away from you, either further back or way off the court, or if they're on one side, you're hitting your drop shot volley to the opposite side to make it more difficult for them to run down. Stay tuned for more tips on Scott Nagle tennis, and we'll see you on the courts.
I wanna scream and shout and let it all out, and scream and shout and let it out. We saying oh, we oh, we oh, we oh. We saying oh, we oh.